Did you ever follow LeBron James back in like his 2010-ish run? Like there's a period of
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
How big of a LeBron fan were you? Like how much did you know about him?
I know a lot about him. I was interested in him when he was in high school. He's the generational player. He's the Michael Jordan of today.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. And
Uh,
I'm annoyed by him and impressed by him all the same. So I I'm not a fan of his, but I definitely follow him and respect him.
okay. Do you remember when he went he joined Cleveland and then he went free agent and he went to move to the Miami Heat. I think that was in 2010.
Yes, and I remember how he did it.
Okay, please share that if you can.
Well, it's important to say he was raised in Ohio. He was an Ohio kid, and so his local team was the Cleveland Cavaliers, and so he was just a folk hero. So he brought a team that the Cleveland Cavaliers were terrible. He was the son of their. I think he lived an hour. I think it was Akron or something, but it's very close to Cleveland. And he was drafted number 1 overall. He out of high school. He was by far the best. He was a man child, and was everyone knew he was going to be something big. You didn't have to be a basketball expert for that. That he was you can't miss. And so he brought that team up to a championship team. So they went from being the laughing stock of the NBA to being champions with their LeBron. I mean, they loved him. Jerseys, the streets full of him. He was definitely the king of the city, which is funny. That's his nickname, the King.
Yeah.
And then he had a press conference and said, I'm going to, in this very snotty, I'm going to take my talents to South Beach. And he literally broke the hearts of these people who would do anything. I mean, I can't tell you how much they love him there. And they were devastated. They talk about it like September 11th. Like even now, people remember where they were in that city when it happened.
Oh my God. I'm it makes me so happy that you remember this moment exactly in that way. And that you're saying what I was reading about, which is like absolute devastation, just him leaving in 2010, like being like Superman to Metropolis and having Superman come out to Metropolis and be like, all right, guys, I'm leaving. Like I'm moving on. So the moment that I want to talk to you about is during that press conference. There was one interview he did on ESPN. And you're right. He sounded snotty, like he sounded like he was making decisions for himself. But he did something that confused the shit out of a lot of people. He started talking about himself in the third person. And there's other athletes that do that. Like Barkley did it. There are athletes today that do it. They'll I think Shaq did it a few times. But what he said is in that interview, he said, one thing I don't want to do is make an emotional decision. I want to do what is best for LeBron James and do what makes LeBron James happy.
And do you go, aren't you LeBron James?
Right. They're like, who are you talking about?
Doesn't that boil your water? I can think of a few times that people have said that, and I've heard it in the business world, and it's always by someone who is arrogant. It's never a slip up. Right?
Now,
do you know anyone's ever talked about themselves as a third person?
Okay, so I have heard people talk about themselves in the third person. I usually think there's something wrong with their brain or that it is pure arrogance. Like they're doing it to sort of like put themselves on a pedestal almost. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
However, the first part of that sentence that I want to focus in on, I don't want to make an emotional decision is what he starts with. I actually think, and there's a couple of interesting psychology articles specifically about this moment, about LeBron. I think that he was doing something called distancing self-talk. And I want to get into that today with you. I want to talk about how I'm not going to defend LeBron James' decision to leave Cleveland. I actually, like in the end, actually, what is your take on, was it good for him in the end? Because he called himself a one-man show in Cleveland, like he was a one-man team. I think that's very unfair.
What he did was he went to a very popular place to go, the Miami. When you're anybody, if you're in the prime of your life, you go there, there's the nightclubs and the beautiful people and stuff. And so what he did was he went to a mega team. And what the mega team is where there's two other guys who are all-stars on that team already. So you'll have these three people that would be the best on any team all on one team.
Yeah.
And that became the new thing that they do. In the olden days, you just stay with your bad team out of loyalty. No matter what they paid you or how they treated you, you just accepted winning or losing and you did your best. But he was very, very embarrassed about how it was perceived.
Yeah.
And when he had the time to do it again, he did it differently. And he didn't like how he hurt everybody. And as arrogant as he was, he didn't think it was going to come across like that. And so he really made amends for that, and he went back to that city, and they won again with him. So he made up. He got to go almost like a movie,
Yeah. He made up for it.
Yes.
And
like only he could, because only certain people could do that at that age. But he was able to do it when you're that good,
Yeah. Well, I'm here today to convince you that LeBron James might have been arrogant in that moment, but he was doing something that is theoretically healthy for our psyche. And the way it's defined is, distancing self-talk is something that you do when you want to take your own emotions out of an issue. For example, if you are facing a very difficult emotional choice, and you keep telling yourself, I need to make this decision, but it's tearing me apart. I'm loyal to this person, or I'm loyal to this company, or I'm loyal to, this idea of myself, but on the same hand, it's killing me. My job is killing me. Being in this position is killing me. Being, in this relationship is hurting me. How do I make a decision? And maybe things will get better. Maybe the job will get better. Maybe the relationship will get better. Maybe the thing you're doing over time, it legitimately might get better. You're not fooling yourself. But how do you make that decision and make that call when to walk away or when to do something? And not strictly just about walk away. When do you choose to survive something even?
It's similar to the situation with LeBron. We're not on TV. We're not on ESPN with millions of people watching. But when we talk to our boss or our loved one or our parent or whatever we're walking away from, we don't tell them the whole story either, right? We tell them what we think they need to know, without making us look as bad as possible, right? We're still kind of preserving our image.
Right. And especially if you have like an image to preserve, or you have an ego to save or something, it's much, much harder to make a decision, because whatever you do after that, it'll reflect on you. Like, even if it's among your friends and peers and family, say you're not LeBron and you're not going to have the whole world shaming you for leaving the one who brung you. You still might be in a position where, making a decision might ruin your reputation, and it's your reputation versus your well-being or your happiness.
Oh yeah. Well, when you leave things, people sometimes don't want you back. They do feel abandoned. They do feel left, right?
Right. So my question now is, have you ever done third person talk to yourself? Have you ever looked at yourself and said, what does Todd want? Or like, what is Todd feeling right now?
No, I did something similar, when I was in my addiction program, and I found it pretty helpful. It was the old, if there was a 4-year-old you with you, how would you talk to them? I found that very effective, and I wish I need to do that more.
Yeah, that is that's something we've discussed on the program before, and that is also one of the 3 exercises that are recommended for distancing self-talk. It's talk to a younger version of yourself and ask, how did I feel then? What was I doing then? And talk to yourself as if you're. Yeah,
I recommend our listeners, and you try that, Joe. Have you done this before?
I have now that I've read about it. And actually, the first time you talked to me about it, I did try speaking to myself in a kinder, gentler way, just to be like, I think at the time your advice to me was, you would never allow a friend to talk to you as badly as you talk to yourself. That when I'm normally every day trying to solve something with logic, I'm very rude to myself. I'm like, you idiot, why didn't you do it this way?
Right, and that has a certain amount of control over, that you're doing that to yourself. But when you start to little kid things, and life is a little bit better when it's simpler.
Yeah,
Even if what you do that day and where you go is simpler, it's nice. It's good for a break.
right. And the idea is that if you can distance yourself from what you're feeling right this moment, it reduces your anxiety. It lets you make better decisions, like it improves your performance, and it also it's a practice for self-awareness. That if you can look at yourself from the outside and decide, here's what I'm thinking and feeling, and figure out why. Um, it sounds like such a dumb, small, simple thing, but like somebody like LeBron James had to do it. Like the biggest minds in the world. You mentioned like CEOs and people with these big egos that have these big jobs. They do it too. And the reason for that is it's a learned skill that you have to be able to do if you reach a certain risk level. Like if your decisions can like truly destroy your career if you make the wrong decision, that's when it is probably best to use this.
Is it
Um,
easier too because of um our fear of disappointing people? I mean, how powerful is that? Or people not liking us?
yeah. Well, that's when it's at its strongest. Is you are weighing your future well-being versus your reputation, or you're weighing how much people will like you now versus like if I totally change, move, or leave. Um, or simply, will I disappoint everybody if I stop doing what I'm doing, even if that means survival? And I've got an example of that too. But first, I want to go through like the three most common exercises we can do for this. Um, so the first one is treat yourself like LeBron. So if you want to try, you know, um, distancing self talk, if you are in a difficult spot tomorrow, like say tomorrow you go to work and your employees are quitting, or you have a client that's trying to sue you, or just something is going terribly wrong, um, take a breath and ask, what is Todd feeling right now? Just literally ask yourself out loud, what is Todd feeling right now?
Do I have to do it in the third person?
It's yes, you actually do. No, no, no. This
You
is
do? Okay,
this is the
okay. 'Cause
hack.
that's the part where my wallet is up.
Yeah. It sounds so silly and stupid. You
My
do
lord.
yeah. It
My
is
lord.
humiliating like LeBron. Like it
Okay,
makes you
okay.
sound dumb. It makes you sound like a barbarian. Like I'm like Joe mad. Like
What is Todd feeling?
what
Okay,
is
so
Todd
you
feeling?
and just say that with a
Why is at first it's what is Todd feeling?
okay.
Why is Todd feeling this way?
So we're gonna get granular on this.
Exactly. You use the right word. Um and the next part is once you identify what you're feeling, then it'll be, can I identify the feeling in a more granular way? Can I use the emotional color wheel? Is Joe feeling angry or is Joe feeling anxious about this decision, or is Joe feeling betrayed because my job is not providing me what I need it to? It's not providing enough health coverage or whatever. Is Joe afraid of leaving because the money won't support me? So like you can get granular about the situation too, and try to figure out exactly what emotion is happening, and then weigh that emotion versus the situation, kind of like LeBron did. Um, the reason this works is very silly. It turns you into your own best friend. So if you and I are talking and I tell you, Todd, that I'm thinking about switching jobs, or I'm thinking about going from the Cleveland Cavaliers to the Miami team, you would have an easy answer for me. Like you would listen to the pros and cons, and then you just tell me what's correct. Like you would just say, hey, put your emotions aside. Here's the decision that will make you happy long term. Here's
And
the stuff that will, yeah,
with a sprinkle of my agenda in there too, right?
exactly, yeah. You'll a little bit biased,
The team that's closest to me, or yeah.
yeah.
Now, what's the one? And I'm embarrassed to ask because you've lectured me about it before, and you've given me good advice on this. And what are the three things? It's hungry, tired, or what's the other one?
Oh yeah. So for addiction counseling, they tell you, if you feel like you're going to break your streak, if you're going to revert to bad old habits, the term is halt. It's, are you hungry? Are you angry? Oh, hold on. What's L? Lonely, or are you tired?
Okay.
And if you solve each one of those in turn, you solve your hungry by going and eating. If you're angry, you cool yourself off. If you're lonely, you talk to some trusted friends or family members. And if you're tired, you go take a nap. If you can solve all of those, it usually makes you one more likely to make the correct decision, but it also removes the those as triggers for addiction.
And you don't have to be an alcoholic or drug addict. We're all addicted to certain things. We're all some
Yeah.
sort of addict.
Well, and we'll use those addictions to push off making a tough decision too. Like if if
Yeah.
LeBron had just gone and drank himself silly that night, he probably wouldn't have switched teams. Like he probably just would have been like, "All right, I'm fine. Like whatever. Like I'm just a complainer. I'll keep playing for Cleveland." Um, Now there's another element to this. Practicing this distancing self-talk, it will drive you a little nutty and make you feel a little bit silly. But it's great for decision making. It's great for self-awareness because if you practice it every day, I mean, even if it's just 5 minutes a day, it boosts your ability to recognize your decision making processes, and it also boosts your ability to recognize your own triggers.
Well,
If
yeah,
if
aren't we? What we're doing now is instead of taking this pause, we are reacting, and
Yeah,
then working our way through that mess after we react. Right?
yeah, it's a self
Well,
mirror basically.
have you used this?
Yes, unfortunately, I have recently found that my triggers, like I used this for about a week, and it immediately revealed a trigger of mine where I was telling myself, Joe's angry right now. No, no, that's wrong. Joe's impatient, and Joe is frustrated. And then I kind of worked it back. I'm like, okay, why? And it's like, well, I'm not working on the project I want to work on, which is our book. I'm currently working on client projects, and I keep getting interrupted. Well, why is that? Well, somebody needs something from me. Well, why is that? Joe didn't do the task for them that they said, but in honesty, I shouldn't be doing that task anyway. So for about a week and a half, I did this, and I worked it back to realizing that I was kind of over booking myself and promising stuff to people, and then I was getting frustrated at them for not knowing when to come ask me for it. So
Well, isn't that a lot of the kind of the Stoic problem solving where let's go down this road and see everything. Have we tried everything yet? Because usually when I overreact to something, it's because I've skipped some stuff. I haven't done everything I could do. I
yeah,
mean, 99 times, 100 times out of 100. And so if I can kind of get it small in what I haven't tried, and then sometimes it makes you feel better too. So because you feel like this is just not going to go away, this problem.
yeah. If I had like a TV show buzzer to play when you said Stoic, I would have hit that button because that's exactly it. That's what's in my notes. And I know you're not in my notes right now. I can see who's logged into the docs. Yeah, it's this is both a Stoic practice and a self-aware practice.
Well, I used to be just the positive power of positive thinking. And then I saw some stuff from a couple of athletes, a coach, Bill Belichick, who was the Patriots coach, and then the fighter, Conor McGregor in the UFC. And what the Stoic approach that they have is you figure out all the things that could go wrong, which would seem as being negative and kind of glass half empty. But if you take that approach, you already kind of have a counter for each of them. So you've problem solved all your problems before they happen. So when they do, if they do happen, which they usually don't,
yeah,
you have beat this thing to death. You know what to do when it happens. And I found it to be a lot more effective. And I stop people when they say, when they get into that thing, oh, everything's gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be fine. To me, it's just so superficial. They're as deep as a puddle. And I think things aren't usually. You really have to maneuver. You got to be ready for what's going to happen next. It doesn't mean you're a negative person, but so I'm all for the Stoic. I think it works.
yeah. I think it works, and one of I think Stoicism has like kind of run its course as far as the new hotness in self improvement and psychology. I think the best way to look at it is you're right. It is a rational approach and a self-aware approach.
For emotional people like me, if you're already like you are, practical and a measurer, but when you're not, you really need that.
Yeah. Well, even me, like if it helps me snap back to true, like it I am a measurer and I'm a very logical person, but I will get hung up in completing things because it's part of my list, and I need to realize when that's holding me up, and when I need to, switch to something that's more valuable. And that means doing exactly this, and not just for the sake of doing it as practice, but asking myself why I'm making decisions the way I am. Um I do have one more story about this that struck me as very profound once I realized what was happening. If you'd like to hear about it, it's
Yeah,
a
please.
history story. Um, have you heard of a fellow named Viktor Frankl, um, or a book called Man's Search for Meaning?
No.
Okay. Um, this is one of the heaviest books I've ever been handed, and I don't mean physically. I mean it is a very dark, difficult book to get through. It was a mega bestseller when it came out. It was written by a doctor who, both a physician and a psychologist, Viktor Frankl. He founded a school of psychology called logotherapy, which is pursuing therapy based on meaning, rather than like Freud, which is like you pursue therapy based on like, I don't want to be uncomfortable and I want sex, to make it very slow and stupid, like in my terms, basically. Um, Viktor Frankl wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning after he came out of the concentration camps. Frankl was put into camp. He was separated from his family. His family all perished. And while he was in those camps, he started getting asked by the Gestapo and by the camp, the people running the camps, to start analyzing and helping people who were becoming like losing hope, basically. So he's a doctor put into a concentration camp. He was not spared any of the labor. Like they had him digging ditches, and at some point somebody was like, "Hey, you were a doctor. How about you help some of us keep our mental shit together?" Um, and something he recognized and talked about was that while in the camps, some people would give up all hope entirely. Like not even like give up hope as in like start talking about like, we're not going to make it out, this is over, my family's gone. He meant like they would humanly, at the core nervous system animal level, just give up entirely, and they wouldn't get out of bed. They'd lay there. Like the morning bugle would sound, and these people would just, like, these prisoners would lay in bed. They wouldn't move. They wouldn't get out to like go use the restroom. People would come in and whip them or beat them, and they just lay there. They're like, no, nothing you can do to my body will even make me move. Like this is how deeply I've given up. And he said one of the things that they would do when they gave up is they'd start smoking. And the reason why that's an interesting fact is, cigarettes, a single cigarette could buy you a couple days worth of soup. So like smoking means you're burning the most valuable asset you have, basically, for trade. And smoking meant, I don't care anymore. I don't even care to eat. I'm just gonna smoke my resources because it makes me comfortable right now. Um, so he was basically told by the prisoners and by the Gestapo and by the Nazis, hey, you need to get your people in line. Like, talk to them. Get them to retain some level of hope and some level of functionality. And so he'd go around and he'd talk to them, and he'd tell them, look, um, I'm not going to bullshit you. This is a bad situation, and a lot of people aren't making it out of this. But his solution, or at least the way he tried to comfort them, was, there's something in life that only you can do, and you're going to need to go do it. And he wouldn't say that shallow or empty. He would actually pick out what it was. He'd be like, you're the only person who knows where these three particular family members went to. If you don't make it out of here, nobody will
I
know
would
that.
say, yeah. That's the
Yeah.
hopelessness too of my family's all gone, but not all of everyone's family was gone, right?
Yeah.
You have people you need to get back to, and we don't know.
Yeah. Or he would tell a doctor, he's like, you were working on a book when you went in here. You're the only person who can ever finish that. And if you do, it will help cardiovascular surgeons from now on. Like, you have to get out of here and do that. So he kind of found meaning for people and got them to like lift their spirits just enough to not become, get to the smoking level. But something he faced almost broke him. Ironically, it wasn't seeing other people break. It was when he was being passed around from camp to camp. as a doctor who could actually do clinician stuff. They sent him to Auschwitz, they sent him to Dachau, they sent him to like 4 different camps, and he was being sent to where there was typhoid fever. So
Oh,
a whole camp would be hit by typhoid fever. They would take out all of the doctors and officers and people who were there because they didn't want their own people to get sick. The Nazis would.
yeah.
And then they'd send in groups of Jewish doctors to work on the patients, like to try to nurse them back to health. And the idea is, who cares if one of these prisoner doctors dies? Like, they can die, like they're expendable, as long as, like, and we're seeing to the patient, so win-win. So they would send in basically expendables and let them contract typhoid fever. Frankel got sick a couple times.
Yeah, the worst traveling doctor job in the world, right?
You exactly,
Yeah,
yeah,
not just the horrors you see, but just like from I mean, you don't get any rest, you don't get
right.
paid, and you get typhoid fever. Right?
Yeah, and he's doing this at the darkest, most dangerous camps that existed. Like I said, he did go to Auschwitz, and I think his final camp was Dachau. So, like, he's going to the worst of the worst places. He's seeing the worst humanity really, literally has to offer, and he's not only trying to bring them back mind, but he's also being charged with the task of bringing them back in body too. And Viktor Frankl was eventually freed while he was administering aid to a typhoid camp. But he was asked later, and wrote about in his book Man's Search for Meaning. He was asked, what made you emotionally pull through? Because his family was gone. Like, he had no better reason than anyone else to survive. And his answer was basically this: like, he used distancing self-talk in a meaningful way. And his method of this was, he was at Dachau. He was facing the fevers. He was getting sick himself. And his method of emotionally pulling through and justifying even what he was doing, justifying trying to lift the spirits of people he knew was going to die, or who were going to probably soon be executed. Because a lot of the German camps, instead of giving up the prisoners, would oftentimes execute everybody and just move on before the Allies arrived. So he was trying to ask himself, why am I even doing this? If this is just bringing people up to watch them get crushed again. And he figured this out by imagining himself in 5 to 10 or even 20 years in the future. And he imagined himself standing in a classroom or a lecture hall for a college, because he used to have to give college lectures. And he was standing at a lectern and standing with his notes, and he was explaining what he felt in that moment. He was saying, it was grim. Like, as a doctor, I was feeling these things for my patients. And he came very close to doing our practice we're talking about, to the point where he's even referring to himself in third person sometimes in the book he's writing. And he's talking about, I felt crushed, and I felt like these patients couldn't be helped in certain ways, but it was, it fell to me to do it. And I couldn't be 100% certain that, every single person here was going to die. So I needed to help the people that wouldn't. So he's like, just like I was playing a certain percentage game, and he's doing all of this rationalizing and thinking and projecting while he's still literally standing there in the tent watching people pass from typhoid. So when I say that,
It's like
yeah,
a very powerful visualization of what could be, right?
exactly, yeah.
Do you think it works in opposite? Do you think it works opposite too? That, sometimes we think we're going through something and we know we've been through harder times, but if we put ourselves back to where, really take time and get in a dark room and think about how we felt and where we were and what we look like and what we were going through, what our bank account looked like. Do you think that would help us too?
Like, if you analyze choices you've made and decisions you've made in the past and put it through the same filter?
Well, yeah, and just said, I've had tough times before, but that's just kind of a general thing. Well, I've had tough, you know what I mean? But when you really think about, when you've lost a loved one, or, would it work the same way? I think it would.
I don't have evidence of this, but I believe so. I am 99% certain that you can do this distancing self-talk with past events, and it can help you figure out what your pattern is going to be. I don't believe, I know that there's like some fields of therapy where they say you have to heal the younger self. You have to heal young Joe or young Todd to make you function better as a human, meaning you have to confront all the traumas of your past. I actually don't believe that.
And then neither do I.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah.
I think your
I don't.
best method is moving forward and figuring out how
Yeah.
to
Well,
solve
that's what
your
I'm trying to say. Like when
yeah.
you look at how bad and things did get better, because that's what I feel like he's doing, with no evidence of that.
Yeah.
It's almost playing a movie of a goal setting movie.
Yeah. So I think if you play this game and you do distancing self-talk to look back and, if I say, 25-year-old Joe, many years ago, what was he feeling then? I would only really be doing that because I want to figure out what my pattern is and what patterns I have not yet fixed. Um, but for the future, I think it works best when you are doing it in the now and you are trying to identify how to make yourself successful in the future. Like, what can I do? What am I emotionally tangled up over right now? What relationship is causing me the most grief right in this moment? What am I doing at work that is totally making me miserable? And then start doing that self-talk. Say, Joe's feeling pretty upset at his boss, and it's because his boss, treats him very badly in this specific way. And
I want to brag about this Frankel because now you brought me over this. There's 10 million copies of this sold in the good old days, and it was translated into 24 languages. And this guy is just he lived to 92, and
yeah,
the ripple effect of all the people he helped. But he concludes that this is a quote, that there are only two races of men: decent men and indecent. Now, see, this is something I'm going to read because I
yeah,
used to always say that. I'd say there's only two kinds of guys: the kind of guys you want to marry your sister, the kind of guys you would. So he thinks for as smart as he is,
very similar. Yeah,
he's dumbed it down for people like me. So I'm going to read this guy. If 10 million people bought his book in 24 different languages.
yeah. I'm going to recommend it to everybody. It is dark. It is, a lot of it takes place during the Holocaust. But it is written by somebody who is trying to be unbiased, and obviously that's impossible, but he's trying to analyze things from a self-aware perspective. So for that, it is an amazing read. And it
You're decent,
clicked.
just in case you wondered, Joe. You're decent.
Oh, thank you.
My mind.
I'm glad you think so.
Todd says you're decent.
Okay, well, Joe will take that.
This one's almost screaming of a challenge.
Yeah, that's the challenge I would issue is everybody take 5 minutes, whatever emotional, whatever challenging emotional time you're facing, whatever, even if it's something minor, anything pops up in your week that is challenging and you have hard emotions about it or strong emotions about it, just talk to yourself in third person for 5 minutes. That's the challenge is do it at least once a week. Do it once a day if you can, but do it at least once. And let this be one of the methods you use to sort out your emotions and make a rational decision, if possible.
You've been listening to The Reengineered You. Thank you so much for listening to the show. You mean the world to us.
You can find us at www.re-engineeredyou.com. That's where research links, show notes, and feedback.
We're not experts in anything, but we've got an opinion on everything.